which is coming to the market, which is raising some amount of money. Very weighted and very varied and very scattered to kind of put any specific or definitive trend out there. All right, let's welcome in three special guests on a report which is titled India 2020. How are the next 10 years going to pan out like for the Indian market, for the Indian economy? Naresh Kothari joins me, President at Edelweiss Capital. Ketan Shaah is Senior Vice President at Edelweiss Capital, and Prasad Jarigama is Associate Vice President at Edelweiss Securities. Afternoon, gentlemen. Thanks so much for taking out the time and joining us here on Profit. Prashant this side. Big report, Naresh. Let me just first ask you a very basic question. What was the inspiration to do such, to undertake such a thing? Why such an initiative right now? And after that, what's the key message? What's the key takeaway?
Well, good question, Prashant. I don't think too many people have asked us why you would want to do something like this. I think there's a very interesting quote we put by Bill Gates in the report in the beginning. It says, we overestimate the change that will happen in the next 2 years, and we always sort of underestimate the change that happens in the next 10. And our idea has been that India is at a cusp, of this great revolution. We've seen a phenomenal 10 years for the country, but the next 10 years look, how exciting do they look? Can we try and find that out? And it is staggering the kind of things that can happen in India over the next 10 years, the kind of change, the kind of positive growth that can happen. And therefore, this whole report has, come around. It's taken us about 6 months of effort. It's taken, 6 people to work on this. We've looked at more than 7 or 8 countries other than ours to look at data from there in terms of how they have fared at the same stage of their economy. And most of the things that have come out, as results have been very, very interesting.
Okay, Naresh, before I go any further, I just wanted to ask you, how hard or how easy was it to predict the next 10 years? Because we kind of struggle. I think most people kind of struggle to look at the next week, 2 weeks. Is it easier than that?
I would think so, Prashant, because I think most people will forget what we said now in 10 years time. No, I think really, like I said, it's it's very difficult to predict what happens over a 10-year time frame. But most likely we'll be structurally completely wrong. In fact, things might be much better than what we think they will be, and I think that is a very strong possibility in this country. Although I don't think things will be too much worse off than what we are predicting from now onwards in the next 10 years. But having said that, I think you do a lot of projective techniques when you're trying to do things like this. So you put together a lot of data, you churn a lot of data, you see trends in other countries, and there's a lot of science and engineering which goes beyond doing this. So a lot of people have to end up churning a lot of numbers, figuring out how trends are in other countries. What are the differences in our country vis-a-vis those countries, and therefore how will our trends be? Will they be different? Will they be similar? And so on and so forth. So, you end up, it starts with an idea. It does take a lot of effort after that to really put together the entire framework, the structure, and then of course to populate the structure.
Okay, fair enough. Ketan, you've been a mentor and a guide to this report. Just in terms of basically going about to prepare this report, what was the basic technique? Did you look at the last 5 years, extrapolate that growth over the next 10 years? What are the variables which went into this?
What we did was we essentially looked at some of the structural shifts that are happening in our economy. So we looked at what's happening to the GDP. A key driver which came out from our research was really the growth in financial savings. We looked at other countries, what happened to those countries when they went into a phase of a supernormal growth. We looked at what are the sectors that went, that really grew and outperformed other sectors in those countries. Then we again cross-validated that with our country and the various data points that we knew about them. And from that basis, we were able to select 3 or 4 large themes which we could say will really grow beyond doubt. Clearly, when India grows, all sectors will grow. But what we felt was that irrespective of global linkages, there are some themes which are really going to have and demonstrate a supernormal growth. And we, zeroed down on those themes and those sectors and focused on them.
So what are the takeaways, Ketan? If you had to just kind of outline 3 things, what are the key takeaways?
I think the three takeaways are that with our GDP growing from 53 trillion rupees to 205 trillion rupees, you're going to have financial savings which are going to quadruple over the next 10 years. And all sectors associated with financial savings, that is your capital markets, financial services, insurance, asset management, these are sectors which are really going to show supernormal performance. We also are having our domestic consumption, which is growing from almost 30 trillion to 115 trillion, which is again a corollary of this GDP growth, and various sectors which are going to associated with those consumption when other countries enter into that phase. So you will have education, you will have media, you will have healthcare, which will sort of outperform the rest of the economy, and then you will have the physical infrastructure space, which is going to be spurred by private sector participation. That is again going to show a supernormal growth. These are the three sectors which we believe will be significantly outperforming the rest of the economy.
Okay, fair enough. Prasad, you've been one of the primary authors of this report. Just throw some numbers our way in terms of GDP, in terms of savings. What are you estimating?
Yeah, see, GDP very clearly will grow from 53 trillion in FY09 to 205 trillion in 2020. So we're talking about almost quadrupling of GDP. And if you look at financial savings, which are 12% of GDP today, we are estimating it to go up to 15% of GDP. And essentially, they will also quadruple, more than quadruple actually. And if you look at the consumption again, consumption has been growing only at 10% in the last decade. We are expecting the consumption to grow at 13%, which is as good as GDP. So again, on the consumption front, we will actually grow much more than what we have done in the last decade. And if you look at the infrastructure, the government is planning at 21 trillion as the target for the 11th plan, that is FY08 to FY12. And we are looking at that to grow to 62 trillion from FY10 to FY20. So a significant jump in infrastructure spending buoyed by government revenues. If you look at government revenues, they are 12% of GDP today, which are significantly lower than other countries. So we are expecting government revenues to grow significantly, and that will be a driver, in fact, for infrastructure investment. And also private sector participation, we are expecting it to go up to 30 to 40%. So that will be another key driver for infrastructure investment.
Okay, fair enough. Naresh, does this report also offer something actionable to investors? Can you look at this report and say, well, these are the spaces to concentrate on. This is what I want to buy. From purely something which is actionable, be it stock or be it stocks, equity, something else. What does it throw up?
Two, three things. I think when you're doing a macro piece, Prashant, obviously the actionable has to be macro. So the first big actionable is India is happening. Come to India. I think I would also put that actionable as part 2, saying till now India has been going out and trying to woo foreign capital to come in. I think foreign capital should now come in looking for the growth that India is anyway going to have because of its own domestic capital. So if you are foreign capital and you believe that you will be coming in and you will be welcomed, or you will be there because there is a shortage of capital, you will be in for a surprise. India is going to grow in spite of foreign capital being there. Of course, foreign capital is very welcome and it will allow it to grow faster and further. But without that too, Indian growth is there for sure. So that's a very strong macro takeaway. I think at the next level, when you're looking at sectors, we're saying overall how various sectors are doing, and you heard both my colleagues highlight those. I think the third thing at a very macro level again is we currently about 1.12 times market cap to GDP ratio. In 10 years time, we're looking at 1.25 times market cap to GDP. So overall at a market cap level, we are saying we'll be close to about $5 trillion plus, about 250 trillion rupees is what we are talking about. Now, obviously, if you're going to go 5x in market capitalization, there will be new companies, there will be new sectors that will get added, and investors will do well to look at some of these opportunities, be it in education, healthcare, media and entertainment, wastewater management and stuff like that. Investors will also of course do well to stick to conventional sectors like banking, financial services, capital markets. It will be a huge area for growth because if so much capital is going to be invested across sectors, there will be a lot of stocks or companies who will do very well. So a lot of the opportunities we've defined are at the sectoral level, but overall at the market level, like I said, you will be close to a $5 trillion market cap country, and therefore there's a huge opportunity to partake of in the next 10 years.
No insights into which will multiply, which companies will multiply the market cap the fastest course of the next 10 years?
I think maybe I'll tell you some of the subsectors. Difficult to use this report to say which companies will do it, because companies will go up and down, and I think we have our regular research where we keep on pointing out which are the stocks that will do well. But from a sectoral perspective, you look at media, and let me just give an idea because it's something closer to your heart also. We are saying media and entertainment will do very well, and it's obvious because when a nation grows at this pace, they have to do well. What we are also saying within that is that regional media will do very well. Now that's an interesting call to make, because what we are saying is as the nation's prosperity widens, people in the regions will be able to spend more, will want more content in their language, will want stuff which will be directed towards them. So you will see a growth in regional media. Now these are the kind of elements that we are bringing across each of the subsectors. So you look at water management or wastewater treatment. These are very, very new opportunities that we are talking about. So a lot of the stuff that we are doing at the third level in this report, once you do the big piece and then you're looking at which are the sectors, at the subsector level, there in fact are quite a few opportunities that we are identifying, which are things that we are currently not looking at in a very broad way, in a bigger way. And I think you can keep on finding some of these gems over there. But really stock specifically, I think again the same things will work over there. Fundamentally good companies, high quality managements, people who are willing to bet on India the long term, who are not really playing for the short term, so high corporate governance companies. I think there is no difference, companies with good ROEs and ROCs, there is no difference in terms of how you pick up stocks. You always want high quality companies, they will really do well.
Right, fair enough. Right, fair enough. Ketan, you're also you're an infrastructure specialist as well. Naresh just said that irrespective of foreign capital flows or how strong foreign capital flows are, that's infrastructure as a space probably will continue to grow at the pace that you're estimating in the report. How does it work? Because now you've got this global problem on your hands. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Nobody doubts the story here in India. Some of the numbers that have been put out by you and others as well. But if it is not for global capital, which has been so essential, are you saying that the thrust from the savings will be enough to compensate for that? Have you assumed and taken that into account while making some of these projections? How does it work?
In fact, in fact, that's a very interesting question, because we've for decades we have thought that India can only grow if foreigners come to India, but the financial flows into the Indian economy right now are so robust that we believe that if the structural issues are addressed, we will see growth irrespective of foreign capital coming. Just to give you a small data point, some of the QIPs that we've handled in the last 6 months, 75 to 80% of the mobilization there, Edelweiss has managed from local investors. There have been transactions where we've done where we did not even need to go to foreign investors outside Indian shores. So yes, foreign capital, as Naresh said, is welcome. But we believe that, you see, we are a country where we've been saving 30-35%, and that trickle is now growing up into a very strong mass, and we will have flows within the country if the case is right, and we believe that's exactly going to be the case. 10 years down the line, the savings that we will have will be equal to the GDP that's there currently. So yes, I think if the structural issues are addressed, there is enough liquidity within the Indian markets to actually fund our infrastructure sectors.
All right, fair enough, gentlemen. We'll have to wrap out this discussion. Great getting those insights across on that very special report, India 2020. Good to get slightly longer term sometimes and have some numbers to work with when you look at not just the macros but the micros as well. Appreciate it. Naresh, Ketan and Prasad, Thanks once again. I'm going to toss it over to my colleague Ashu Sharma, who's in the Delhi studio. So he's going to take you through Profit Newsroom. Ashu.
Thanks, Prashant. Well, over the next half an hour, we'll take you through all the market moving news, of course, and check on the markets, which seem to have come off a little bit after that good 2-day rally. Stay tuned. Profit Newsroom is up next.
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV Profit.